All right, a Wall Street titan who's so angry at all of this that he's going to move across the world. If he wanted to, he could. To Italy if he wanted to, but he doesn't want to. Right now, he's just sort of weighing all of this, the former UBS Chairman Joe Grano, on the exodus that could happen. They're worried about it, right? So worried in New Jersey, where we both reside, there is a concern that they're going to have to dial back that so-called millionaires tax because the millionaires might leave.
Well, they have been leaving, about $8.5 billion of revenues. Look, I think that the cynic would look at this bill and say it over-favors corporations and the rich a bit. And I think if you look at this $1.5 trillion cost over 10 years, one, I would ask Ms. Pelosi, where was she when debt went from $8 trillion to $20 trillion under the previous administration?
And by the way, both parties, where's the anger over the extra $9 trillion added to the debt to conventional spending?
Look, I think the big differences between the two bills, 4 break points versus 7. The alternative minimum tax, which you just talked about, frankly, that's a big break for the wealthy, $700 billion. I would keep it in, including the corporate AMT. That pays for more than half of what we're talking about. Then the corporate rate itself, going from 35 down to 20, if they went to 25 instead of 20, that would generate $466 billion more in revenues. Between the two, you pay for the whole thing, and pass more of it through the middle class.
Very few pay at that top rate anyway. The average seems to be 26 or 27. So if they got to 25, as you visited, then it's a wash, right?
Well, it's still better than what they have, in my opinion. But my point being, I think that you could then put more into the middle class side. I don't think the wealthy need any breaks here, including myself. I don't mind paying taxes. I don't mind paying more.
But you're not just wealthy or uber wealthy. There's
That's
a difference.
Not true.
But no, I'm not meaning to make light of it. There's a difference between guys like you and those who might be in the upper income who would similarly be roped into this stuff, right?
Well, I think it's part and parcel of attitude. I think this country's allowed us to earn that kind of money, and I think you have to give something back, including those that are not
Many of them
rich.
come back at you and say, Joe, I've already given something back by paying a 40% top rate.
Well, it's 39.6, but that's okay. We're not going to
the surcharges, Medicare and Obamacare.
No, I agree with that. But again, I don't think that's an issue for the wealthy. The people that I know, from Kenny Langone on down, they're not upset about paying taxes.
But you're in a rarefied league, is what I'm saying.
I don't know.
So when I hear guys like you talk about that, I understand. I respect and admire your rags to riches story, as I do Ken's. Well, not so much Ken.
Well,
you know
Ken's
what I mean.
super rich.
Yeah. And he doesn't have a handy bone in his body. He came up with Home Depot. Go figure.
I understand.
But my point is, do you think that people are going to look at this, and you're right to say it's more dramatic on the corporate side, and come to the conclusion, hey, I was expecting a bigger tax cut, whether you're in the wealthy or the middle income, and you're not getting much?
Well, again, if I took away those two changes, the AMT and the corporate rate, tempered
and pour it back in the middle class.
Pour it back in the middle class. The bottom end of the issue, which is we'll call poor people, that's a whole different issue. This isn't going to fix that problem. That requires different solutions.
So child tax credits of $2,000 a kid and all of that Marco Rubio pushed.
Now that helps the middle class. It does.
You do?
Yeah, I think it does.
Before that?
No, I do think that's a good thing. I really do. I don't like the fact that the House bill takes away any deductibility for student loans, interest, and tuition. I don't like that at all.
All right. A lot of deductions go away or are limited in the belief that we can put all this on a single card. Do you buy that?
You know, no, I don't. I don't think it's going to get that simplistic. I think it's going to be simpler. Yeah. But I understand that the short form at H&R Block is more popular than the long form. So people will always look for tax advice, regardless of how simple.
Yeah, we were talking to a CPA who said much. They're always going to need my insight, Neil. And he's probably right. Where do you see this going and the impact for the president, for Republicans next November?
Well, first of all, I think that this is Armageddon relative not getting this passed. Without this legislation getting passed, I think it's very detrimental to the Republican Party in next year. Getting it passed, I think, is very important for this president to basically say that he does have a semblance of control over the party. I do think it is a supply-side deal. I'd like to see it tempered a bit. You know, one of the criticisms that drives me nuts, if corporations earn more money because of lower taxation, then the PE ratio brings the stock up.
Right.
What does that do for 401k plans, IRA plans?
So you think that will lift? J.P. Morgan has said that a good chunk of this hasn't even been factored in.
Oh, yeah.
I just want to make sure I got it right.
It lifts the American people.
Tax cuts halfway priced into the stock market, so we have another 50% to go.
Well, you could argue that we're going to see another 1,000 points if it passes. But again, I think this is a supply side, and I do think it will provide stimulus. I'd like to see it a little bit more balanced for the middle class.
Yeah.
But other than that, this is good for corporate America and good for American citizens who are relying.
You think it reins in those
assets.
states blue states where governors will have to think twice about hiking taxes?
Well, yeah. Look, I think what's happened here is the SALT issue, state and local taxes. I think in some states have gone too far. Property taxes in New Jersey are out of control.
Yeah.
You want to blame the federal government on that? I don't think so. That was self-imposed.
Yeah, it's a mess. Always good seeing you.
My pleasure.
Thank you very much, Joe Grano.
Hi.
He's the real McCoy, and he says things that offend everyone, which is always handy. It can be very good, I guess.